Hey everyone, my name is Troy Myers. Welcome to another exciting edition of the Stonehouse Readers Series. I'm a graduate of the Stone Coast MFA in Creative Writing from the University of Southern Maine. And during the pandemic in January, a colleague and I from my class, Amanda Plow, who produces this show and works in the background most of the time, sometimes pops on, decided as a response to the isolation of the pandemic and social distance life, and because we missed a lot of our colleagues and friends from our graduate program, we started a Sunday night reading series. We went 17 straight weeks all the way through the spring. In the summer, we're going about every other week or so, although I may have some readers for next week, so I'll put it up on the Facebook page. You can always get information about this reading series at Stonehouse Readers Series on Facebook. You don't have to have Facebook. Google that, and it will just pop up, and anyone can view that page with or without Facebook. As always, I say hello to my mom, who watches religiously, literally, the next morning, and to Amanda's mom, and maybe tonight to Shannon and Lauren's mom or dad. We might have some other parents out there. So I'm very excited about tonight's readers. We have two, maybe three. One is from my class. Our first reader is Lauren Davis, and it looks like Blake's also here, so there'll be two from my class. Lauren is a poet, and when I was, before you show up to the MFA, you get work from other writers and you make comments on their poems before you've met them. And when I saw her work back in 2013, I thought, my gosh, this person has talent. When I met her, I was even more impressed by just her sweet spirit and her commitment to writing women's experiences. I had the honor of introducing her for her graduate reading. And so I think I've covered all the basics. And Lauren, if you're out there, let's go ahead and pop you on. We'll talk for a minute and you can read. Hey, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Thank you so much for introducing me.
Oh, I remember it well. It was a great experience.
This is the second time you've introduced me, I just realized. So you introduced me for another reading.
Cool.
Yeah.
Call me anytime. I'll introduce you anywhere, any venue. Always on. What are you working on, Lauren?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Oh, what are you writing?
What am I writing? Actually, I just finished a manuscript that I call Women Bones. It's just really a chapbook. It's about, I think, around 35 pages. So most of these poems have been published in different journals and magazines, both online and in print. But I put them all together in this one manuscript, and I plan to send it out to publishers pretty soon.
Good for you. And you've had some recent publications. So are you going to read poems you've had published recently, and where did those appear? Or
let's see. I'm going to read quite a few of those.
Good.
There are 4 of the poems I'll read tonight that are coming out tomorrow in a magazine called Apopheny magazine. There's one that just came out in a Heart of Flesh literary journal that I'll read, and also another from Wrath-Bearing Tree that came out recently.
Wow. Good for you for being so active. I admire that.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, without further ado, it's your time. If you're ready, go ahead and let's hear what you've got.
All right. Just gonna check the time first. Okay, so this first poem I'll read is called Dry Tree. And please let me know if there's any trouble with hearing me. Dry Tree. Today the wind came and knocked all the dead and weak trees down. On the way out to the country, roads are blocked. Fire and ambulance men work to remove the fallen. Little yellow sleeves, cuffs, hard hats, and hems speckled inside a conglomeration of branches. You used to cry, everything that made you human disoriented. You were once that down tree stretched across the road, and the one at the edge of the riverbank, begging the wind to roll and fold you in. Vertebrae bruised by rock, chest rib bones so prominent under skin that your chest would vibrate with fear at the surface, nothing to protect what was underneath, fluttering, brittle. You were once named Willowy by that Chinese medicine doctor, you all full of wind and swaying, hanging down and cracking, limbs cracking, arid, body dry, mind dry. And the police did come, and the firemen did come, to pick you up, to lift you. At your strident shoulder blades and rear, a stiff plank. You were a place where no verve was evident, no healthy borers, no robin songs, no nesting squirrels. You awoke in that hospital bed, eyes blinking, to someone who stood there then, but months later would not stand still, a visitor to your life. People don't always stand where they once said they always would. Trees fall down, souls fall. People say they meant that then, but now don't mean anything at all. What makes us happy? Is it purpose? Is it our wild brains healthy? Is it fostering ourselves? Is it acceptance? It is letting go what was before and knowing that now we can fight firmer. Is it knowing we will and can actually make it through this life alone, that dying alone is nothing but the safety of being human? All debris collects somewhere, something, after some time, a tiny new light, a spruce, a seed, a morsel, as we know, but so often don't believe. When my brain was broken, I read it could never repair. Yet here it is again, full of tiny, healthy sparks, full of water flowing, a river which could never dry out nor collapse. You, self, will never dry out nor collapse again. No, a river runs through you. There's Dry Tree. Let's see, I will read another one called The Secret next. The Secret. When I forget to say amen at the end of a prayer, it's like leaving something that should be closed open. Like I'm not home and have left a window open and a storm has begun. Like the rain will enter me, flush out the things I'm not ready to part with. I rushed home during that storm and pushed the heavy glass up to close where I had once opened. The water rushed like a tide down my forearms, filled the empty cups of my bra where lately space has collected. Papers on my desk below absorbed the rain. Rusty water filled my mouth. With a towel, I soaked it up, like I didn't want anyone to know, committing to a secret. These papers will dry. This window I can keep closed, shut. But my aching body is the one who will never forgive me and will never let me forget the secret only God knows. Amen, I am forgiven. Amen, I must forgive myself. Sorry, I hear something behind me, so I got distracted. Let's see here. The next poem I'll read, if I can find the thing, is called The Flowers You Brought Back from Italy. This was published in a literary journal that's for people who have loved ones in combat or who are in the military in some way where they're far away. And I don't know anyone in the military, but this was a poem about loving someone who was far away and that you can't be near them. So, The Flowers You Brought Back from Italy. Each time I open my notebook, the pages stick, because I've forgotten. And onto the ground they fall. Royal purple flowers fall out, emerald-stemmed, blue-veined life from the coast of Italy. You pulled them from the earth, pinched their feet with your fingertips, you breathed into the sea, and thought of the way my hair swayed between my shoulders while you once walked behind me near an American riverside. Flowers sway in the field the same way. You placed the poppies then into the spine of your Bible. You pressed it, punched the face, and rubbed the back onto the ground to release water into sacred words. You pressed, wanting me there, and you breathed into the sea. Yesterday, you stood in the kitchen of your new house while the songbirds in the yard called good morning. You opened your Bible and pulled the flowers up by the end of their stems like tails, their faces tumbling downward. And I opened myself, my notebook, and tossed the flowers into my spine, my book's spine. And there I closed it and pressed it into the granite underneath to press wanting to stay there with you out. You ask me, when do you leave again? 2 weeks. Now 1,000 miles away, the pages stick. Each time I open my notebook and onto the ground they fall. And I remember how you must have looked collecting purple poppies by the Sea of Italy. Our modern lives so set apart, both by miles and unsteadiness. Okay. Let's see. That's a long one. I won't read that one. This one is called Watching Them Swim. It's in the voice of a friend of mine, who is a male, so has a little bit of a different language than I usually write in. Okay. Watching them swim. I sit on the speedboat with a beer bottle resting on my knee, as friends strip off their clothes and one by one jump into the interrupted lake, laughing with the delight of liberty. As the girls swim, long hair twists in the clear liquid, weeds catch the strands, heads bob. It's like a prayer that dips atop then under the water, each time farther away, each time breathing out at the surface with the sound of spewing. One of my buddies turns on his back, his round face mirroring the sun, legs pumping somewhere underneath like an otter tail. Their chests fill with oxygen, and their bodies float at the surface of the water. They look like my bedridden mother. Her frail arms that rested above linens when I made the bed around her, as if she wasn't even there. When I said I was leaving town for a few days, she said I should be ashamed for leaving her. Sometimes I'm afraid to look at her face. At nightfall, we return to land to set up our tents, while the couple in the lot next to us fights in a language I don't understand. Their son comes over to visit us. I ask him what the best part of his day was. He asks me the answer first. I tell him it was the hours I spent watching my friends swim. He says he played in the woods and that his mother watched, smiling as he climbed a rock that was a ladder to the sun. Okay, and that's a true story. All right, they're all true stories, but just kind of checking my time here. Let's see. Okay, I'll read one that's a little bit, it's very light. It's actually, this is strange, but it's actually about the inside of my dog's ear, like her inner ear. But sometimes I just catch myself, and I think a lot of poets do this. You just are sort of, I see Amanda laughing on the private chat. Yeah, we love our dogs. Anyway, sorry, sometimes, and I think all poets do this, you have to sort of be in love with things around you in order to make a poem. You're in love with it, or you're just in awe of everything, or certain things that you see in life that you just want to put down on paper because you think about them in this deeper way. So anyway, I was just cleaning my dog's ears, and it just amazed me the inside of her ear. So it's a poem about that. It's called This Thing That God Made. And this just recently came out in a publication that I should remember the name of. It's called Heart of Flesh Literary Journal, issue 5. That just came out recently with this poem. Okay, This Thing That God Made. And I think this will be my last poem tonight. Look at this thing that God made, this thing of swirling skin, hair, and wax, coils of flesh twisted and set into pattern to draw inward sound. Soft golden hairs hold the dark wax that smells sweet and tacky. Frail movable hairs bend inward like blades of bent grass, the skin pattern like insect trails under bark or brainy greenwort coral at the ocean floor. The dark wax is dense in gummy moisture in a way that one doesn't know whether to leave it or wash it away. The coils of pink skin lead into a cavern to where the eye can no longer see through the black. The coils pour into the head to where one cannot and should not reach forbidden space. On the back a flap, so thin and baby, so weak and dear, soft and buoyant, yet it stays there solid, with no one's help. In one place is a shape unnamed, a round rectangle jetted out like a covered mountain, and so unlike the other forms. It is something magnificent, a place for only sound to understand how to navigate, an arrangement no man would think to design, the curves too natural. Yet it is a thing so ugly and foreign, a dwelling I clean and fight to keep open and unimpacted like much of the body. I examine it in awe and snip the golden hairs, the ones that appear as if they would grow into the cavern. I clean it out, trying to exterminate that tacky smell and the black wax. The dog's ear, the woman's body, the grass, the coral, the mountain shape, the cavern. What are these things that God has made? Okay, Amanda says I have time for more. So let's see. Okay, I can read this one. This one's not too long, and hopefully that'll end my time after this one, just because it's almost a few pages. This one's called Drawing the Body. I actually did this project. It was a local project where I wrote ekphrastic poetry. There were several poems, and this was one that was included. I was pretty sick at this time with anorexia, so you'll hear these things about bones and things like that, bones sticking out, things like that. But I'm totally okay now, so luckily. But this was written during that time, and it's just about, I do this from sitting in, I can't think of a word, a nude figure drawing class. That's where this poem came from. Okay, so it's called Drawing the Body. There is a nude woman, robe off, her breasts a humble offering, pointing toward my eyes. My head is up against the wall. Charcoal is poised in my right hand. Its black mark is on my lips from where I touched them in thought. I need a gray eraser gob between my left thumb and finger. Much unnatural pull comes from gazing upon nudity, some kind of shame in it, but the artist must, to copy flesh onto the page, to learn how to drag the pencil, smudge the charcoal, dust the jawline, the hip bone. This nude woman is of my kind. Her full body reminds me of when my bones were not exposed, when my elbows were round, my calves strong. If I were naked here, some might shiver at my exposed, white, notched spine, my vulnerability, hips poking through skin like canvas tents. I recently undressed my body in a room full of women to try on a shirt, a gift. I turned my back to the bridal party, bent over to dip my head into the opening of the neck, and heard gasps. And when I turned around, the shirt hung and draped, the armholes gaped with emptiness. The woman took her gift back. Now here in front of me is ripeness, and my breath is deep in its presence. My eye traces the curve of her egg-smooth shoulders, like a light piercing a window pane. I mark the material shape of her doe breasts, deepen her supple dimple knees with the dark material. Between the shaved wood of my pencil, I find the outside of her leg, connect it to her belly button, connect it to her belly, draw the X in her button. The timer chimes when I haven't yet made it to her face. She pulls the robe over her back, ties the cotton belt in front, walks over to see what I have drawn. And I suppose I'll end there. So that's it. Thank you so much for listening.
Lauren, thank you so much for reading. And I'm really glad you took the time to read the last poem.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel what I felt when I read your poems 7, 8 years ago, before I knew you. Such a distinct voice, such original turn of phrase. The poem about the dog's ear That is not easy to do well. It smells sweet and tacky. To smell tacky. I'm on the last poem. Thank you so much for sharing. We've had a few other readers. Katie Bickham read about eating disorder. We had a woman before her, 2 or 3. Always very moving, and I'm so appreciative when authors share that, because I know it touches lives of other people.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's the hope, right, with writing, that somebody reads it and gets something out of it.
Yeah. Well, healing.
Yeah, exactly, healing.
A sense of shared experience. So that was just beautiful, beautiful work. I can't wait.
So encouraging. I appreciate it.
It's true, and I can't wait to read your chapbook. Do you have a title for it yet?
I do. I call it Women Bones.
Oh, you told me that. I actually.
A lot of it is about just being a woman in today's world. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then also, if there's anorexia poems in there, there's connection there.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm so glad you're well now. I want to stay in touch.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to have you come back and read more.
That'd be great.
Your chapbook is out. Josh Gothier is writing in to say it's lovely work.
Thank you.
And yeah, I'm truly touched, and it's great to see you, and I'm glad you're well.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Lauren, we'll see you again. If you want to hang around at the end, we pop everybody up and sort of say and debrief if you want.
I'll definitely stay and listen to everyone else read. I'm excited to hear it.
Very cool. All right. Thank you again. Everyone, if you're just joining, my name is Troy Myers. I'm a graduate of the Stone Coast MFA in Creative Writing from the University of Southern Maine. And this is another episode of the Stonehouse Reader Series. I coordinate this with Amanda Plow, who is a colleague of mine from the program, and who runs all the technical side, which is why this tech stuff is working. And we started this to move out of isolation in the pandemic in January and to connect with classmates we hadn't seen. It's a Stone Coast national program. And as Lauren was just saying, it's difficult sometimes to stay connected. So it's when we do that. So thank you, Lauren, so much for reading. Our next reader is also from my class, and in fact was my very first workshop with Lauren and me. And our next reader is Blake Love. Blake, are you out there? Let's say hi.
I'm here. Hi, everybody.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
Yeah. You know, I forgot to say, but I'm actually at my brother's house. It's like the on-the-road edition. So I'm in Chino.
Okay.
So I'm in the same kind of atmosphere as the other Southern California people today, like yourself.
You mean you're in hell? It's 107 today here where I'm at.
Where are you at, Blake?
I'm in Palmdale, outside of LA.
Okay.
Like northeast Los Angeles County.
Okay. Yeah, I bet that is warm.
It's awful.
And you live there?
Yes, temporarily.
Okay. Everywhere we live is temporary, right?
Everywhere we live is temporary, absolutely.
What have you been working on, Blake? I have not talked to you in so long. It's so good to see you.
Yeah, I feel like I've kind of gotten off of social media, and I'm not great at keeping up sometimes. I feel like it always makes me feel bad when people are like, "Oh, I've been working on so much," and I'm like, "I've been working on my tan." I think for a while life just sort of has overwhelmed me, and I wish I could say I'd taken COVID to take a lot of time to write a lot of stuff. But when you asked me to do this, I kind of went into my files and I'm like, well, what will I read, right? Mm-hmm. And I noticed I've got at least 100 things started. My problem is finishing. So I agreed to do this as a means of getting myself back into this practice. So we're just going to do it and we'll see what the result is.
Good. It's all you. Take it away.
Okay. On Annie Lennox and Awakening. In those latchkey years, I was a silly putty, a child's kaleidoscope, a still image without frame, searching for a mirror of myself, a shifting awareness in my thick, clumsy limbs. Inside me is an absence, what I am not already. I am not them, and I am not like them. I don't know how I know it, but it's a fever feeling that keeps me awake already, late at night watching TV. And like the Deus Ex Machina, pluming into the room with a mouth suggestively painted red, wide enough to swallow the entire world, and off with their heads red, Annie Lennox appears in female drag, a demented showgirl, all lacy steel delicacy and sequined bodice, a train wreck of Vegas, peekaboo and pantomime, mirrored lights, riding a crest of false eyelashes, asking why, in a torrent of bitterness sealed in the pout. The vacancies of language can only approximate the complex blossoming strangeness I felt. Her shadow of uneasy beauty causes me to peel myself from the floor and spin into a twisted half pirouette to this crescendo of rising notes as my sister walks into the room unseen and espying says, "You are so weird," and changes the channel. Okay. This next one is sort of like a rant, I guess, but sometimes we just need to get things out. So it's called An Addendum of Some of the Drugs I Have Taken. The sun is a cigarette dipped in formaldehyde, the atomic ad nauseum of its rise, up all night for days. This is the initial rush, tablespoon of sugar in the tank, semen spilt like a white wilt blossom, spring, a deep wet embrace, dirt in the nails, rolled bills and an unlined palm sweat, hands slipping through years of meaningless sex, the way you blow a job as a jab, acid makes the naked hills warp back north and greenly, so it's a rash of tinfoil tiaras, a guttural butterball rolling into the sweet morning, fog and ecstasy, a swath of bay like a man's bare back. Mountains are folding like muscles. I am a standstill of a million inhalants. Final kiss off, and I am soaked to no bones by salt water. A sister to the moon. Baby aspirin with dirt and Andre cold duck. Hard luck dust outside of LA or Portland or anywhere up the shit-stained sky. Interstate 5. Hashish and endless throat. Tabletops of mid-century, and that was a decade ago if it's been a day. Charcoal and bonfire of tamarind husk, the thick waft of smog, screaming at the specific Pacific, black cherry Kool-Aid, sticky lube hands, swollen lips. I've got sand in the oddest places. Ripped denim adhering to bloody abrasions, Cape Jessamine, a spilled spritzer, a mosaic of bluish headaches from all this freedom, lost and found again and found again. Arid August morning. It's not mine. I'm not here. This isn't happening. Okay. This is an experience I had in LA that always sort of horrified me and also was heartening to me, I guess. Is that a word? I don't know. A ride on the blue line. He rides the odd-lopped hurdling rail, hips slung low. Everyone pretends to not see him, sidling up the aisle from beyond the glare of their cell phone screens as he steadies himself, folding his long brown fingers over the greasy pole. He says, "Hola, mi nombre es Alfonso," repeating this in a thick, dulcet English. "I am blind, soy ciego." This hanger of a man is like the land itself. His double-stitched tongue traces back centuries of manifest thefts. Colonial bloodlines are in his bones as we eke out our lives rushing from here to there. We are living on. Here today, he stands in sway, and before the crowd, he empties his eye sockets one at a time, places each of his plastic eyes, gray irises to the sky, into his pooled palm, lined like a folded map of Alta, California. "Anything helps," he says. A mother stares at him, cradling the face of her writhing toddler. She shields him from the spectacle as each of us finds a different way to look but not see him, praying for the swift arrival of the next depot as we roll through industrial lots and the endless sprawl of SoCal. The train hums and thrums while he effortlessly slides each of his eyes back. He holds out a faded Big Gulp cup, and the busy people hurry past him through the gray doors and onto a platform. The clink of dimes and guilty quarters draw his mouth into a smile that is more like a sneer. He pockets a crumpled up dollar bill. Gracias, gracias, he says to each coin, walking up the aisle. He passes me, not at all defeated. Okay. I only got a couple more. I'm going quick. This is something that is untitled. Let's see. Like a cheap epiphany or a punchline that does not pay off, I am here. A friend tells me everything happens for a reason, but there's no revelation in that. I hate hearing to just take it one day at a time, as if I was living life for the pure drag of it. I'd take existence by the month or year if I could, depending on the weather or the de rigueur of the day. When I wash the dishes or there's too much laundry, I get funny ideas. An urge to throw my life in boxes and cartons and put on a pair of big Jackie O sunglasses and drive away into the sunset, genuflecting with my middle finger. When I tell this story to my doctor, he offers pills, but he doesn't laugh when I tell him there aren't enough drugs in the world to make me forget that I don't know yet where I am going. I would like to ask him, but he doesn't think I am that funny. Doctors never do. It's not the kind of repartee valued at cocktail hours or family barbecues. There are so many unspoken parts in life, the things we carry but cannot say in polite company. No one wants to kneel at the steps of the patron saint of dissatisfaction, for obvious reasons. We tell ourselves that life in itself is hard enough, but yet I still want that huge orange moon to mean something tonight as I stare out of the window, like a charm against these mean days. All my dreams unfold under a sky that is starless, polluted with light, and I am drying out, but far off in the multiverse, I am singing a new song to greener things. Okay, two more. This one is The Skeletons of the Mojave. The fringes of the plain, outcrops of pocked basalt rock. I've lost true north here, stumbling in the low washes where water flashes through sandy expanses of juniper. A trailer's aluminum roof beams light back. A blue belt rings it. A red wire warps through a cholla's ashy branches. A children's-sized 2 leather shoe, cracked half of a CoverGirl compact. A sand-stippled coyote skull. A shot-up jalopy rusts out slowly, and a whining wind passes over the artifacts swallowed here. 2 lanes of asphalt disappear, and no one looks back. Okay, this is my last one, and it's a love poem for my husband. I got married, 2 years ago. And it's been a roller coaster, let's say. Queer love psalm. In the harshness of English, my francophone bluebird of a boy, I am telling you the hard truths of my skin, places I have taken no one else. I am purified, the depth of your rising heat, this green room of Leona Valley, Los Angeles County, low-lit January. You are here spread before me as if I knit you, expanding stitch by stitch in my hands, a yarn of hairy limbs in a tangle. You know I whispered a prayer to the red rim moon last December as I was unraveling another one of my lives. Burned pages, the incantation against the heavy blue sorrow for sorrow breath. I let go of 1,000 points of phosphorescent light coalescing in the apocalyptic nights of Los Angeles. Protect me from myself. I loll asleep on the crest of your chest. I have not slept since I was a child. Morning is a rebirth, our bodies in rhythm to the rain that welters a swath of pain, slanting in and washing it clean. We cradle our vulnerabilities, boyish, elastic tenderness. I take off the broad yoke of my shoulders, a first time for everything. Here in the soft light, I have no other offering but my whole self, you silver-tongued flatterer. This is a new style, an unfogged view, where I wander lost in the infinite underpinning of bone and flesh. And that's it. That's my reading.
Thank you so much. Congratulations on being married.
Yeah, it's good.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Good for you. Hey, I thought that Drug Addendum was freaking brilliant, man.
Really?
And I also really liked Queer Love Song. I'm not someone to tell someone to publish because I don't really publish that much right now, but those poems would find a home at least.
My issue is not, I think, whether people will publish me and they could find a home. It's that I just lack the discipline I need. You know, it's like a second job to get it published. It has to be, and I need to sort of refocus myself.
I agree. And again, I don't do it right now. I should, so don't feel bad. But
well, you and I are both working for California community colleges right now, right?
Yes, that's right.
That is what has drained me, unfortunately. But I love my job, but I need to find that balance, you know, that time for my artistic self and that time for my teacherly self, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you full-time there or?
No, but I work 3 different jobs. Amanda and I work at one of the same schools. Okay. She got me the job. Thank you, Amanda. I'm always very grateful for that.
Yes, and there is always time to publish, which is what I tell people all the time about my own stuff too. So no pressure. But Drug Addendum, man, I was getting Hunter, you know.
Well, good.
Who else was I thinking of when you read that? You know, Fear and Loathing. That guy.
Yes, Thompson. Okay, that's funny. My friend and I were just talking about him today.
Yeah, what was his whole name? Hunter something. And then I can't think of the other author that was popping to me on that, but that was some vibrant, edgy stuff, man. Edgy is not the right word, but thank you for reading that work, Blake.
Thank you. I feel better.
Good. I'm glad you feel better. We'll have you come back. You can feel better some more. Yes, thank you, Thompson.
I'm really pleased that you invited me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad you read it. I know Lauren was really excited to read with you. And
I love hearing Lauren's work always.
And what you said in the beginning about this helps you kind of get back on track and think about it. We hear that a lot, and we love that, to hear that, because it's true for me and Amanda also.
I do have to say, as Amanda said in the private chat, and Shannon, I love hearing Shannon read too, but she knows that as well. Both Lauren and Shannon. I was very excited to read with both of them.
Yes. Well, Shannon was also excited to read with you, is what Amanda's pointing out. So anyway, thank you again, Blake.
Thank you. I'm going to come back.
Truly heartfelt work, and we will bring you back.
Okay. Thank you.
Take care, man. Be well. Hey everyone, if you're just joining us, my name is Troy Myers. I'm a graduate of the Stone Coast MFA in Creative Writing. And many Sunday nights, not every Sunday night in the summer, my colleague and I, Amanda Plow, host an alumni reading series called the Stonehouse Readers Series. You can read about that on our Facebook page, Stonehouse Readers Series. You do not have to have Facebook. Our schedule comes up there. We look for new readers there too. So we've had a wonderful night so far, hearing from 2 colleagues from my class and even my first workshop at Stone Coast, Lauren Davis and Blake Love, both reading profound and touching work. I want to say, because I forgot at the beginning, to thank Rick Bass and Christina Paracchio, who came on 2 weeks ago. And Christina was able to read. Rick had trouble getting connectivity at his house in the Yak Valley, which is even more remote than I thought it was. So we will bring Rick back for sure. And Christina, if she'd like to read with him again. And I'll say, if you're watching and you're a Stone Coast alumnus, we'd love to have you come on and read. Join up on our page, Stonehouse Readers, and I'll look you up if I can. And also faculty from the program, current or past. We like to pair faculty member, which is what we did with Rick, with one of their students. Let them talk about their experiences at Stone Coast, experience as writers. So we'd like to hear from a lot more of you. Had a tremendous just wall of talent from January to now. We have 1 reader left tonight, and that is, and I turn my page, Shannon Ratliff. Shannon was a little bit after my class, but I remember her, and I'm excited to her read tonight. She's also friends with Lauren and Blake. And Shannon, if you're out there, I'll bring you up and let you make something actually happen on the show. How are you?
Well, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
What are you working on lately, Shannon, for your writing?
Yeah, well, kind of mimicking, I think, everyone else. It was like quarantine was a time to like look at everything I had done and then be like, I haven't really made that much since leaving Stone Coast. So I put together a piece that it's a chapbook I've sent out to a few places, but I actually want to start adding now some like graphic components to it, like putting some scrapbook style, to it. So that's what I'm working on. But the piece I'm reading today is like not that. But
okay, do you have a title for that book?
It's called Mine right now. Yeah.
Mine?
Yeah, or I'll put it in our chat. But Mine, Mine.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And you don't do illustration yourself, or you meant like you said just?
No, I do not do illustration myself, but I have a lot of actually like material. It's about the end of a relationship, and so it's a lot of actually like primary source stuff from a box and like scrapbook photo things that Photoshop getting edged up on it, I guess. Yeah.
I like the phrase "edged up on it," and I think that is a great idea to do with a memoir like that.
Yeah.
What are you reading tonight?
Today I'm going to be reading a piece called The Vigil, which was actually coming out in the Seneca Review's newest issue, which should be out, I think, like any day now. It was supposed to come out in the spring, but was delayed by COVID-related printing issues. So I timed it. It was 17 minutes, so I'm going to go fast and make sure we get it all in.
Don't worry. What was the name of the journal again?
It's the Seneca Review, so out of Hobart and Smith College.
Okay.
Yeah.
Seneca Review. Thank you. Wow. I think that's like prestigious. Good for you.
Yes, thanks. Yeah, it is a lyric essay. So I guess if anyone out there is expecting memoir or traditional nonfiction, it'll be a little different. So.
Well, we're very excited you're sharing. And it's all you. Take it away. Thank you.
Cool. All right. So I'm going to grab some water. Okay. The Vigil. Leave her to die, moonshine slosh in the belly of the holler. Callous bare feet, stained cloth torsos, baby dolls her daughter carried with painted swirls of hair on rubbery heads and loose eyelids that clicked shut. Arms and legs plastic, one folded fist, a thumb to the pursed mouth. Determined to die witness to the winter basement skies. Sun unseen this hollow time of year, pale gold light on billowed gray. Neighbors none, food forgotten, water unforgivable. Few hours left now, homemade moonshine jars loll around the room. A route home to land that once cradled her body from this bed, bones snap under the weight of preconceived death. His letters rendered unknowable, soaked during which part of the passage, here, there, she couldn't know. He'd been unable to return to dry land since one son murdered the other. Or was it since his knife nicked her throat in the bowl of this hill? Nearly pure alcohol swims through her nostrils down the smoking gape of her mouth. Cool silver streaks through muscles prone to cramp in this state. She does not dare flex her toes lest her calf seize. Suicidal, not sadist, she laughs into an open wooden room. The bone stars wink, she mashes fire-coated fingers into her eyes. If the body won't give way, she fixes to go blind. The first batch of the jars she'd made with her fingernails still crusted with her daughter. She'd split the batch by accident. Absurd kaleidoscope greens of not here shimmer in her skull. Tries to remember the names of her sons. Teenage boy humidity, storm fronts on twister-prone prairie, the blood on the earth, hands of the younger smeared his father's arms in atonement, that first sun body so slick and warm, the straight lines of her son. Bone Hotel on Seaglass Dreamland, shadows long and late afternoon light on the balcony of the highest floor, her naked body tightly wrapped in a bison pelt, coarse and unfurling over her ankles, Closer to the haze on the horizon, the violet scrim catches the bison shores the shoulders of the pelt. The beast head atop her own, a wall of water snakes long and fat, miles offshore, no beastly roar, a soundless wall on water, a girl on the beach with a baby doll in hand, a tree, a car, metallic salt in the air, this soundless wall of water, some soundless wall of water, soundless wall of water. She rips the fabric quilt, it squeals in two. In bed, animal shrieks simmer over the eastern hillside. How does one begin a day? Ask for damnation, repentance rolling backwards onto her skull, but no, still here. He stopped sending letters, sprightly on open ice, navy cable knit roping round his sloping, sturdy waist. That firm, long body, lines around his eyes deep and handsome, unasked for, received. Their daughter's ringlet swirled from the center of her head, arms and legs, not plastic but skin. That organ, a mere membrane down to the bone, easily sliced in half. A necklace of rubies on her chest under the tree. Snowfall blowing from the west. When he returned to her before, well, it didn't snow in the garden. No, of course it snowed in the garden. No, it couldn't have snowed in the garden. No, not here. Pale light roams her mind, dreams from long ago bubbling to skin. Her small daughter's curls, mouth pursed O, an icicle ornament Cinderella, a dream of her girl's body. Blue boxes, translucent and buried in snowfall, more by the dream minute. And who can say dream time? Bone hotels and ice clear cases. Her daughter is in one of them. Why are there so many boxes? That small body in this field of snow, but the flakes are fat and fast. The holler grows white, ice up to ankles, kneecaps. She pulls a curly strand of hair from between her two front teeth and rubs it between numb thumb and mute index finger. The finger is blue, bluer than she could know. Somewhere she knows a box is filling with purple, and pushed against the glass are two small wet hands. Moss bile dribbles out of her nose, chin. Her lover's body, her only lover's, well, no, not quite true. The lover made for her, the pocket, the kneecap to chin where her spine curved into his chest, arms finding ways around shoulders, fingers against spines, this thing she was certain she'd been born without, his one missing rib. When does the body become wild? When the blue bucket under the bed is full of vomit, when there is no food in the bucket, when the soundless world cracks open, when the jar of moonshine unscrews, when the box fills with purple, when the hotel shatters, when she orgasms in this empty room, her one cold hand and the other so warm. Soft meringue peaks of ridge lines, the innards of her daughter's favorite pastry from the bakery by the sea. The girl pulled the salt flakes from the top, jagged and crunched, tongue the color of red geranium buds. Those curls knew pleasure, to seek and to savor it. This had frightened her as a mother, she who paid for her own pleasure still, now. The cabin's windows are not open. She aches to suffer the breeze on her face. If she could chisel away the cheekbones, perhaps she would be like everyone else. Her body long and suntanned is warm elsewhere. The voice summons her, snaps under the weight of this inflicted cruelty. It backs away. No tenderness. No, not that. Feet pressed square into the floor, opens her heart and chin toward a sun that will not rise today or the next many days, has not risen for weeks, a ceiling lowered by 7 feet, winter basement sky. Her fingertips grip the edge of the window frame as her ankles give way, bone rolling onto the muscle of her now bent body. Slides down the wall, splinters slip sharp and clean into her left shoulder. On the floor, she bends her ankle back in body line, flexes toes in open palm. Her hands are heavy at once, the weight of her second son in her arms, the manure of his fingernails as he grew, shepherd's staff hooked on the back of his chair. She coos into an empty moonlit room. Silver washes her dull and liquor-leaked skin. The first man to die by hand, her second son. Recoils under each ephemeral, purposeful curl. There are cattails on the shoreline, a northern Atlantic coast. She arrived in the winter when slicing through this body that once roamed warm under an untamed sun. Atonement is a wondrous want. Stands, blood drains into her legs and courses through her purpled kneecaps, and now, after fuck knows how long under the window, blue. Her eyes blur into the kaleidoscope shades of the drunks. The grip of the hold loosens a little. She crawls on hands and knees to her bedside, gulps from white lightning under her bed. Confetti bruises on her inner arms ache and speak back. Pinpricks with attitude. Close the window, they say. Cap the jar. Throw it all out. Forget the holler. Find the coast again. Get out. The grip of her daughter's clammy fist, the white-knuckled rise to stand at the coffee table. One bottom tooth pokes through the sweet pink gum, geranium bud tongue wagging. She wants to feel light. She sways her body against her 2 fingers tucked deep inside her now, circling the top of her where he could once make her moan for him with an open-throated rumble that once echoed through the holler so low. The closest neighbors 2 miles away were at the door, sidearm at the husband's waist and the wife's hands on the door, concern of murder shimmying against electricity in the walls. When the porch was finally empty, he purred in her ear, "We were meant to come in pairs." Warm pulls her inside out now. His hands are holding her thighs open, shoulders threaten to pull away from her. That hold, the suction grip of lip to clit he perfected on her all those years. He never let her go without tasting a flood. Coming in this empty cabin alone and the holler belly, she can't help but beg his name. Stares at the ceiling, recounts the nicks in the logs. Time splits open, this memory ice-picked off the block of her liquored-up brain. The day her daughter was born, the tent of the sheet made by her spread knees. The only birth like this, she couldn't keep down the epidural. And he'd insisted she wouldn't need it, but she'd begun then to savor the spiral wash of it in her human brain. The daughter they placed on her belly, bloody with fleshy bits of exit matter. This was her first true human. She mashes her fingers into her eyes to see the absurd, brilliant greens, clear away the sheet tent, the bloody girl still not dead. The gauze of her mind curls away from the wound. The road up here winds Appalachian switchbacks, streams of brook trout next to black asphalt. Yellow lines yank the natural from human. To see the forest from a great height, that is why she stayed after his knife. The moonshine jar in hand is almost out, and she knows the oncoming withdrawal will resolve her resolve to perish by force. She traces her fingers along the rim, and a small open slice picks up the alcohol. Burns. She brings her fingertip to lip, sucks into her mouth, and through the blood she swears she can taste the garden. She pulls another jar from under the bed and swims deeper under the ice. A wide green pond, a wide green sky, grass orange, and the inside of an orange in her hand. Blue. Bites. Chokes awake, blood burbling in her throat from the gash in her tongue where she nearly bit through the cold limb thing. The room opens wider. There is a living here that she could not remember days ago. Death must lie upon her now, heavy and hard, bristling bison over her woman body, every tendril of her mind alit. Damned to die here, choice affirmed by the bison, sandpaper hooves tucking between her ankles in bed. The idea first came to her in the thick jungle summer, tourists pouring into the basin where you could pay $5 for 6 one-ounce pours. Tasters these. Decide what you like, take it home whole. She watched whole sycamore branches snap under the weight of ice after the first snow. The bodies of the men she loved rove over her singularly now. The one who took her toes in his warm cavern of a mouth, he who hickeyed the inside of her thighs, the one with hands the size of her head who liked to place them flat against her ears and kiss her forehead. The moving creaks of blood in his palm veins pounded. She grew hungry for him when he did that. Guilt is not fatal. Wanting is. Beneath the blood, the pit. The fruit of the garden, its original form, long gone and bastardized through various hybrids, the offspring carrying modern surnames like Meyer. She bit quietly through the skin of that first mother, matter stuck between her bottom teeth. Ridged skin, bite giving way to tart, mouthful, swallow sweet. She licked her fingers and went to find him at the river, not the other lovers, but him, he with the missing rib. He watched the garden trout she has not seen since swim by, iridescent shadows glimmering, a trick of the light she'd yet to learn. She gasps and the better half of the gray quilt whips across the room until it covers the one window completely, and in a few moments, into the night. The snow falls on her overheated skin. The body she lives in requires the other half of the gray quilt, this one hauled into the fireplace, now ashy and thick. She tucks and rolls from the bed, splays on the floor, stomach down, a flipped Vitruvian woman. Ice gust tinges the room blue and white in what must be mid-morning light, but those low winter ceilings in this fucking holler, there is no morning. She watched death from the window that swallowed the quilt, the curve in the road outside cloaked in black this time of year. Cars skip like Hot Wheels into tall sycamores at the roadside. The trunks that face the road are split open, bare, pale innards reflecting snowy light. Her hip falls from its socketed nest in her body in front of the fireplace, and it will be a moment before she crawls back to bed. To stay away until the bison licks her earlobe, calls her to him. When she grips the jar of moonshine next to the rocking chair by the fireplace, she can't spin her thumb around the frozen metal. She tries her fingers next, claw grip of a hawk, and it gives way, spills the first 4 good sips into her collarbone. Waist she could never stand, slams the glass jar against her teeth, and the glugs plug her closed a little until that damn garden air blooms inside her ribs, rising and falling, this air in and out. Her first left rib asks in ache. The jar empties, the body wants revolt. She trains it down, holds her arm into the air for her firstborn, who wanders the earth even now, hair thick with sand, back a perfect shepherd's hook. Am I my brother's keeper? Open ocean, ice sheets thin and thinner yet, creak against the bow. The father of her 3 children, man with the missing rib and handsome lines around his eyes, navy sweater, navy sky. He peers out over the ocean and feels her bare feet, pitiful things that scratched his calves at night. Am I my man's keeper? But he can't hear her. Her cheekbones cannot be conjured to him anymore, locked deeply under his own ice. White caps lift the hull of the ship and the veil falls away, and the warm liquid of fruit fills his ear. His pinky wags inside, brings back a blood drip down his forearm, purpling his sleeve against the widening faucet of his ears. She sinks her body to the ship deck in this dreamland to soak in his scent, maybe this one last time, but all she can taste is blood, and he is now pale golden as a glimmering winter garden, and there is no more awake. His body was always hungry to move over hers, she a slow boat underneath as he navigated the waves. Her backbone quivers. Icy Atlantic moon sharp and clean, she could never consume it all, but the goddamn wanting. Instead, she received a body that laid bones down for comfort. The rising starlight defies the squall outside the window. Has she transcended somewhere already? Cheap tricks, cheap drinks, the moonshine she brewed to stockpile herself the night she resolved to die. A slick sheet of ice covers the road hungry. Once she looked to the bottom of a translucent blue glass with bubbles on its side, she at the table with a different lover whose hands were meaty bird breasts. She wanted to swallow those large sausage fingers whole, but when she looked through the bottom of the glass toward the fading daylight, the ground turned orange and the sky green. A tornado sky in the holler, lovers never did stop finding their way to her. Bone dust pile of daughter, what she spread over the potted citron tree in the cabin under the heat lamp a few years back. Long shriveled now, she stopped watering it that summer the night she began to collect sterilized flavor jars. For days after the tree died, she felt grains of sand between her teeth. Slicks her tongue over her cracked lips now, tastes back citric acid. His thick grip in her tangled hair, her goosebumped throat held open in his hands to the sunlight. The knife long in his hand, beams bounced back and blinded her as she writhed under him. This day he cracked, the points of her hips locked between his thighs, each double the size of her torso. Her pursed metallic mouth spat rubies out, one back molar. I'm not afraid of the blood, sweetheart, and he poked the knife just under her left earlobe, that quiver spot his lips traced for millennia, and she learned how the voice separates from the body when the body is a carving board, the block a sculptor could mold. She can't remember now why he dropped the knife and jumped from her body. Face down in the dirt, warm red pooled in her open palm until it was full. She flattened her hand against her cheek, her chest, marked. How she arrived had to forget her own life to do it. How he walked back into this cabin, she body open and gasping and shuddering in sunbeams outside. In the holler now, her kidneys shake. She sees that it is good, wants to ricochet into 1,033 pieces, all dagger-shaped, lives too shrill and minuscule to reconstruct. The stomach wants to tear itself apart. Hunger is the religion of the body, arrives with palms open and asks for the throat to open wide to its desires, to swallow the communion, to nourish the palms of the ask. It wasn't noble to deny hunger, the animal desire of the body disjointed from the divine. Holds her hands in front of her, can't recognize the muteness of her body. His body was always garden green. Sure, he'd smear the green under her chin the day he held it up to the sky, his eyes upward too. Her puke spills into the bed now, streaks of orange. She sees it is still good. Oily scent of animal hair rips her into the present. What is mine, she moans, wants to feel the earth skin strip from her muscles, the tendons floating away from bone. On unsteady heels, she crosses the room once more, grips her big toes as snow falls on her fingers hung over the edge of the windowsill, coos into the snow-pocked holler bright as the moon. The black ice in the road whimpers. It grows, hungry and hungrier yet. The floorboards grow hot underfoot. More than once, she'd begged for a car to ricochet around the turn as she stood on the yellow line next to the scarred trees. It was what came after she held the torso of her daughter's half body in her hands, the easy separation of skin, that supposedly resilient organ, rubies all over the road, her car, her fingernails crusted black as she held a hospital Bible in her hands and one by one ripped the translucent pages out and made small sepia swans. His hand on her lower belly pushing her away when he knew what he was capable of in a bearing blight of sunshine. The bloodthirst of the second son now apparent in the one with the missing rib. The curled, severed daughter was her own cross to bear. The raised scar on her jawline curves into a perfect shepherd's hook, her skin so cold it shocks her fingertips in their mute numb. The wild scent of her son's milk smell of the girl. She could never get it right. Reaches for the jar marked in her own hand with 3 X's, dips her fingers whole into the batch she flubbed, its alcohol holding too much ethanol, too gas-like, a single error, now a saving grace. Brings the small worms of fingers to her eyelids, peels the left eye open like a grape with split skin, and pours. Clean solved, excruciating emptiness. Nothing. The right. What is the instance of insanity in a body promised as animal? Dying against the grain of her memory, she sets the knife that sliced her onto the surface and cracks it open with a ball-peen hammer. Tiny as touch point, tender and raw, the deepest corners of her mind began to thaw slowly in the sunbeams of a holler morning that is opening now into a sky gold with a blush streak. Her body is an oil slick on the ocean of her life, coating everything that rises from it, shimmering from miles away and spreading apart up close. She names her body Animal now. Its certainty switchbacks up the ridgeline, the way he tucked his hand beneath her shoulder blade, angular and skin warm when they left the garden, thunder ripping open an ether she would never see again. His hands burrow between her thighs in the yellow cracked grass like long snakes, his tongue slipping down her neck to the ridge of her left ear without a scar where her jaw slopes into her human skull, feet purple and iridescent, irreplaceable, calls her body Animal, offers him back his rib, anything, please, for the bloody whole curls of her only daughter. The bison's belly cradles her, its snout wet on the back of her neck, wooden room, wooden ship, sun on ice shelves, heat splitting open the sheets, tributaries of separation snaking the length, a world of water wild and for the taking. Daybreak open above her, wide mouth, the fruit leaking from her lips, his sweet tongue licking the sides of her mouth when she found him with the trout, claws the air, shrunken bone, useless muscle flapping inside this skin that splits too easily, long asphalt taunting hot on the horizon, his breath hot against her, steam wetting the strands, palms hungry for her once more, just this once more, his wrist writhing against her and fingers snaked inside the night, one more before the morning vomit, before the dull twinge of cramp that she'd not felt since the second son, this beast she birthed, devotional to him despite those red hands, her own no cleaner now, the song of her daughter's voice as the wheel well above the passenger door collapsed into tin can dance that broke into chorus when the window glass crumpled and the metal split the small girl body in half like a string of wire through a block of cheese. The animal of her body asks to be loosened, worlds of blood, wild and for the taking. Eve closes her eyes to comply. I'm done.
So Shannon, when you win the Pulitzer Prize, you need to come back.
Oh, God bless. Thank you.
There was so much in there. I need to read it again. I need to see it again.
I'm happy to, share. Yeah.
I would love to see it, but wow. How much was that revised and how much did that come at once?
It came out, I started with a really short piece, like 300 words on what it would be like if Eve had to die and could live if you had to die and live forever, how would you have to do it? And then it got biblical. I write a lot about Mary Magdalene and reimagining that kind of life side of the Bible. And actually, this piece really frustrated me. I worked on it for a year and a half, and I hated the way it rang together. It's written in shorter paragraphs, and I actually cut them all up and did an activity that I'm sure CNFers out there will be like, oh my God, someone did it. But I cut up all of the paragraphs and I just threw them into the room and I just pinned them up on a board, a science, project board, the 3D one. And I just typed it up what was there and then kind of started revising that in a better practice. But yeah, it took 3 years to write. So
okay, well, that's better. It is stream of consciousness. It is beyond that. It's a novel, really, in 17 minutes. Thank you so much for sharing that work.
Thank you for having me.
Back and share more of your brilliant work, some of your memoir or other things you're working on. But I am really excited to read that piece. That was fantastic.
Cool. Thank you so much. Yeah. Blake and Lauren were amazing too. So
yes,
to hear them read.
In a second here. In fact, you may also have been recently married, Shannon. I don't know, but Blake told us that he was recently married.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not recently married. That's
and
awesome.
Lauren,
Congrats.
I found out, was also recently married. So congratulations, Lauren. Also,
Thank you.
You're not on your honeymoon, are you?
No.
Right.
I got married in April and went to Sedona, and I'm back.
Oh, you did?
Also.
Oh, my
I
aunt was.
went to Sedona last month. I love
Really?
it. Yeah, I love
Each other.
it. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's really fun.
How did it feel to read together, guys? How was it?
Really good.
It's like coming.
Great.
It's like coming home, right? Like I knew these people's work. It was good to feel the camaraderie.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of talent too.
Totally. Yeah. I still remember when I was in your guys' thesis reading, I was just like, like you could hear a pin drop in the room. I'll never forget it. So it was such an honor to read with you guys. Yeah.
Well, you're very sweet. Thank you. And that was that's an epic thing. You just
Thanks.
Yeah, I don't know about all of you, but when I got accepted to Stone Coast, the program, I went there thinking like, did they just let me in because they like need the money or something?
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Sure. Are they letting anybody in?
Yeah, I realized that everybody had a lot of talent, so I felt better about it for sure.
It definitely makes you up your game.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. And you seem like you're pretty active, Shannon and Lauren, but I hope this also helps keep you focused on your work and returning to what we did in the program. And it's always great when writers say that. So, build community.
I mean, that's the thing. Builds community. That you die without it.
It's true.
And Blake, I thought I was thinking of your drug addendum felt like Howl, written by Hunter S. Thompson.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, no, that's all the energy, Ginsberg, and it was great. Thank you so much.
You.
All of you. We have had a great evening. Thank you all for reading. I hope to have you all come back either as a group or on your own or in other mixtures of readers. And we will probably be back next week. Brady wants to read. He's got some new poems, but he can't Finkel. I need to find someone else to read with Brady. And we'll go. 2 weeks from now, I'm out of town or out on the coast. I won't have a signal. So, and in the fall and in August, we'll have more readers. So thank you all again for coming. Fantastic night, truly. And I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Amanda.